Hello everyone, my name is Mordecai and welcome back. This week's video is going to be about some rules, or rather some basic guidelines that I think you should follow when dealing with trap tunnels. Before I go any further, I'd like to go ahead and say thank you to Pedro, who messaged me on here after he apparently posted my video on Reddit, which is where I got about 10 or 11 subscribers on pretty much one day. So for everybody new, thank you very much for subscribing and willing to give me a shot. And Pedro again for just throwing the channel out there. My phone and my messages were blowing up from people viewing it, and I was like, no idea what was going on. So there's my quick thank you out of the way. So I don't want to drag too much into it because otherwise the video will be really long. So this one's going to be about some guidelines with how to deal with trap tunnels. Whether you set them up or a teammate does, you should really follow these type of guidelines so that you don't mess up your defense. I wanted to do this because my last several videos have been about planning a defense, which is what my very last one was about. And ones prior were teaching you about husk pathing, setting up basic trap tunnels. I mean, the very basics so that you can get a strong foundation. So rather than just rattle off the tips, I'm going to show you why you should follow these rules and what happens if you don't. So with all the boring stuff out of the way, let's get started. Alright guys, the first tip that I'm going to give you is to do not, and I repeat, do not fight inside your own trap tunnel. It kind of defeats the purpose of it. So you can see here I kind of set up what I'm going to call a skeleton of what might be a trap tunnel. And we're going to pretend that the section that I was standing at on the opposite side is going to be the objective. So basically the husk would come through this area if we had a bunch of traps, and the traps should kill them. But I'm going to show you why, and I purposely made sure that there was a propane husky here. So let me trigger these guys. I'm going to run back here into the trap tunnel, and I'm going to kind of run around in circles and act like if I was another player fighting in here while traps are going off and the other things. You're going to see that propane boy decides to light up that sucker and throw it right into the trap tunnel, blowing it up. That's going to ruin all of your hard work, all the effort you put into it. So right there should be rule number one. Do not fight in the trap tunnels. Otherwise, your traps aren't going to do you any good. So you can kind of see the aftermath. Alright, let's go ahead and jump into the next one. Alright, for the next tip I've got for you is do not wall off your trap tunnels. Or if you see somebody else's trap tunnel, you may be thinking, well, they left an opening here, I'm going to close it off. So as you can see here, I built two little small trap tunnels. I'm going to show you what happens when you decide to completely wall off your trap tunnel and just how much it mucks with the AI of the husks. If you recall from my husk pathing video, the idea is that you want them to go through your trap tunnels. Think of them as water, and your objective is like a pond or a lake. They're trying to flow to it. When you block that off like I just did here, then the husks no longer have a straight path to your objective. So they're going to try to tear through anything they can. So I'm going to show you why I always preached about leaving an open path for the husks to get through, especially when it comes to your trap tunnels. So I've started it up here. And hopefully, in my luck, it won't work. But the husk should see that there's no path, and they're going to immediately start trying to break in to pretty much through any of the walls. A lot of times they may pick the wall with the least amount of items in front of it. So as you can see, they are kind of destroying some of the main wall here. And perfect. Got a bunch of them just trying to destroy any wall they can. So I'm going to stand here and see if any of the other ones keep trying to break through, and they are. I got one on the left. I got this dude right here that just walked through the path. But you can see it really mucks with the AI. They're going to continue attacking that wall. He may eventually try to walk around the stairs, or he'll try to cut through the stairs, or he may even try to cut through the wall, which may have a trap on it. Or he could completely walk around and go in through the opening. You don't really know what they're going to do necessarily once your pathing has been broken. And you can see here, I mean, it's going crazy. So you never ever want to wall off your trap tunnels. You want to leave them open. Otherwise, stuff like this is going to happen to you. They're just going to muck up everything. So don't close off your trap tunnels. Just don't get it. Alright, so this one hasn't went quite the way I had hoped. I've been trying to get the propane husk to spawn, so I purposely built kind of light. And unfortunately, none of this went the way I thought it was going to. So what we're going to do, if you're an Outlander, you never ever want to throw your Teddy into a trap tunnel. And the reason is it clogs the tunnel up, and the husks don't know how to path around it. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to throw this down here, and I know it's going to keep fighting, but it's really going to throw off the husk pathing in here. What's going to happen is when they can't get around it, if it's a propane guy, he's going to just start slamming his propane against the wall to either break it or rather just set it off entirely to destroy it. You'll see down here, bam, smashers right there hitting on the wall because the Teddy was in there and he still is. He's blocking the path, so the smasher didn't know what to do other than to break the wall. So rule number 3 for me, unfortunately I wish this could have done this with propane, but it didn't work out that way. If you have a Teddy, do not, and I repeat again, do not throw it in the trap tunnel. Don't throw it at the end or at the front either. Just leave it out of the equation entirely because it completely disrupts the pathing of the husks. So that's my tip number 3. Alright guys, for this tip, it kind of involves soldiers and more or less the other classes, and that's mainly due to the shooting. But to give you an example here, I built another really basic, what I would call a trap tunnel. No traps in it, it's just a skeleton. Just to show you the outside, and we're going to say the objective is on the other side where I was standing. So I'm going to trigger these husks here, and my biggest thing is I'm going to try to get the propane guy here into the center of the tunnel so I can kind of demonstrate why you shouldn't do what I'm about to tell you. And that is, the first part of this is for all classes involved. Do not shoot your weapon inside the trap tunnel at all. Like, it kind of rolls around the first tip where I said you don't want to sit there and hold down the trigger like this and just spray at the husk coming in because you might hit the propane. The second part of this tip is going to be revolving around soldiers in particular, and that is do not throw grenades into trap tunnels because if you hit that propane tank, it's going to ignite and then it's going to set off that one. And if there's more propane in here, then you're going to have multiple explosions, which is why we always tell people don't shoot and do not throw grenades. Don't throw teddies. I mean, the list goes on and on. When you have a trap tunnel set up, let it do its job. You've already put in the work, let it score for you. Thin out the herd, and when they come through, then eliminate the stragglers. But, you know, you built the tunnel, let it do its work. I mean, that's the big thing about this. So that's my next tip for you guys on this one. You can kind of see it's all revolving around staying away from the tunnels to let them do their job. Alright guys, that's pretty much all I've got for this week. You can cut the video now if you want to. This next segment is going to be basically me just kind of briefly going over a couple things. I'm going to try not to drag it on too much because I don't want the video to be any longer than some of my previous ones have been, which have been, you know, 15-20 minutes long. The first thing I want to do is to thank everyone who subscribed again last week and who've been subscribed now for many months. Thank you again for giving me that shot and to, you know, encourage me, especially last week. I was really shocked to get those type of kind words and comments of people saying, you know, you're doing a good job. You'd be surprised how far that goes, especially with somebody like me who was very hesitant to even want to put something like this out there. And again, thank you to Pedro for putting that out on Reddit because it's something I honestly never would have done myself just because I don't feel like I'm ready to put myself on that type of platform. But this week, you know, I just covered things you shouldn't do when you build trap tunnels, so I think my next video is either going to be things about etiquette or possibly even going over the mission modifiers, because I noticed especially some of the newer players don't always necessarily know what those mean. So that actually might be a good video for me to do, or if anybody who's recently subscribed or has been subscribed now for a while, if you have a suggestion for a video, just as I've said in every video that I've posted, you know, leave a comment, suggest something. Believe me, I read those and I will try to do them. Somebody mentioned before about trying to do the Storm Shield defenses, the SSDs. And I am going to start up a new account and I am going to play through and try to record my defense of each one of those. I do know other YouTubers have done it, but with the most recent changes to the husk spawning, I think we might need to redo some of those unless they decide to change their mind, because a lot of those old guides are now kind of moot. A lot of that's changed. So I'm going to see what I can do on that and kind of get that side project started while still focusing on doing these type of guides for the newer players. So again, I really appreciate everybody, you know, giving me that support, and I will see you guys next week.